What happens when immortal warriors who've protected humanity for centuries become the hunted? Watch as Andy and her crew fight betrayal, loss, and a secret that could change the world. Welcome. The movie bursts onto the scene with a pulse-pounding start. It begins with Andy, the steely leader of an immortal mercenary crew, unveiling a rare first-edition Don Quixote. Her voice cuts through the tension as she turns to Booker, questioning his presence. He recalls an 8-year-old mission in Surabaya, hired by a man named James Copley, who once pulled them into a hostage crisis in South Sudan. Andy grimaces, wary of the risk history repeating itself like a curse. In Marrakesh, she pauses to snap a photo with nearby girls, then joins Joe and Nikki for a quick meal before focusing on the job at hand. Andy probes if they've caught the latest news, dismissing any mission that feels hollow. Joe, Nikki, and Booker insist she's overdue for a break, a year having slipped by since their last fight. Reluctantly, she agrees to hear Copley out. They meet Copley in London, where Andy's surprise at his agency exit prompts his revelation. His wife died 3 years ago from ALS, a loss that drove him away. He shared urgent intel about a militia attack in a school, slaughtering teachers and abducting 17 students at gunpoint. South Sudan pleaded for U.S. aid, but the current administration turned a blind eye to non-strategic allies. But Andy rises, resolute, promising to notify him when it's done. In South Sudan, Andy's crew arrives at Copley's coordinates. They take out few guards, moving stealthily through the brush. Andy noticed something was wrong, but before they could react, Copley's hired gang surrounds them and opens fire. Bullets rip through the air, and the Immortals fall seemingly dead. But in a moment of time, their curse revives them. The two sides clash in a brutal brawl, Andy's team overpowering the attackers with centuries-honed skill. They press on, searching for the girls, only to discover a cruel truth. No captives exist. It was a trap orchestrated by James Copley. Fury grips Andy. They've endured centuries for this fight, only to be betrayed. Disheartened, they abandon South Sudan, vowing to hunt Copley down. In Afghanistan, a squad of female Marine soldiers confronts a group of women displaying a photo of a man who slaughtered their comrades and terrorized the community. One woman steps forward, denying any men are present, just women. Yet, tension radiates from another, her gaze betraying knowledge of the fugitive. The soldiers spot him in a nearby room, where he's already wounded, shot while attempting escape. One soldier, Nile, tries to protect him per orders to bring him alive, but the man lunges with a knife, striking her. Her comrades rush to her aid as she collapses, blood pooling. She gives up on the spot but rushed to a field hospital, but she lives again, her immortality awakening in. Back on a rumbling train, Andy and her crew Booker, Joe, and Nikki face a sudden twist. A vision crashes into Andy's mind, revealing the chaos in Afghanistan, where Nile fights for survival. It's clear Nile needs their unique skills, forcing a split. Andy heads to Afghanistan while the others pursue Copley. At a dusty hospital, Nile's comrades Dizzy and Jay check on her, stunned to find no scar where the knife pierced her throat. Perplexed, they press for answers, but Nile claims a doctor used a skin graft to cover it, dodging their suspicions. Meanwhile, Copley meets Stephen Merrick, a ruthless young pharma CEO, pitching Andy's team as a goldmine for his investments. Copley warns that capturing even one immortal, let alone all four, will be a challenge due to their extraordinary nature. Merrick demands the entire crew before rivals catch wind, his greed driving the stakes higher. In Afghanistan, soldiers train when Nile is summoned. Orders demand she report to Landstuhl, Germany, for tests, returning her tag as a reminder of her near-death escape. She heads back to her quarter, but none of her teammate wants to get close to her. Distraught, Nile slips away to clear her head. As two soldiers track her, Andy strikes, felling them with precision, and whisks Nile to a waiting car. Nile escapes through the trunk, lunging to flee, but Andy stopped the car, shoots her down. Undeterred, Nile rises, fueled by rage, and stabs Andy with a knife. Andy warns her sternly never to try that again. Furious, Nile demands to know Andy's identity. Andy reveals she leads a band of warriors, soldiers like Nile, forged by immortality. They return to the car, driving to a private plane. Aboard, Andy offers Nile fresh clothes, but she refuses, pressing for answers about her purpose and destination safety. Andy sidesteps the questions, stepping away to call Booker. She asks if he's located Copley. He confirms Copley knows they're hunting him and is searching for them too. Back inside, Nile, still reeling, bombards Andy with questions about the chaos unfolding. Andy deflects, saying she won't like the answers. Confused, Nile prays to ease her turmoil. but Andy cuts in, declaring God irrelevant to their cursed existence. Andy halts the debate, needing rest. Awakening, she finds herself chained by Nile, who wields a gun, ordering the pilot to divert from Paris. Andy counters, urging the pilot to ignore Nile, leaving him torn. With no choice, Andy shoots him. The plane lurches violently. She claims she can fly the plane, tricking Nile into loosening the chains binding her. As Nile fumbles with the restraints, prompting Andy to reveal she didn't kill the pilot, with a swift kick, Andy sends Nile sprawling. Nile rises, and the two erupt into a fierce brawl. Despite Andy's plea to stop, Nile persists until a blow wounds her, shocking both as the injury heals rapidly. Nile confesses she's a Marine, but Andy cuts in, declaring, "Not anymore." In Goussainville, France, Andy and Nile reach their destination. They reunite with Joe, Nikki, and Booker. Now 5 Immortals, they believe their curse is eternal, but Andy shatters that illusion. She warns nothing lasts forever. Their healing might fail, citing a fallen comrade who died despite all efforts. Nile, still reeling, demands why she survived Andy's shot when death looms as a possibility. Andy, urge her to rest. The team retreats to rest, but Nile jolts awake, gasping from a haunting dream. A woman trapped in an iron coffin beneath the sea, drowning and reviving endlessly. Joe steps forward, explaining the vision's source, Quinn, one of the first Immortals Andy discovered. He recounts their shared battles across millennia. Fighting side by side, their captors devised brutal methods to kill them, but immortality prevailed. Separated, Quinn was sealed in an iron box and cast into the ocean. Andy escaped, searching for her friend for decades, her failure a gnawing guilt. Booker adds Quinn has endured 500 years in that watery prison. Nile slips outside. Andy follows. She reassures Nile that Joe, Booker, and Nikki will protect her, but their talk is cut short. Copley's hired thugs storm the house, shooting Booker, who revives due to his immortality. Copley watches remotely, plotting to deliver Andy's team to Merrick. Andy orders Nile to stay with Booker as Joe and Nikki are dragged off by Copley's men. She fights alone, but Nile begs to join. Booker restrains her, advising they wait for Andy's signal. When it comes, they strike back, overpowering the attackers. The team flees to Val d'Argent, France, a desolate ruin abandoned since the 1150s. Meanwhile, Copley delivers Joe and Nikki to Merrick, then lunges at Nikki, headbutting him to the floor. Grabbing a knife, he stabs Joe to test their immortality, confirming Copley's claims. Merrick reveals a genetic code within them could revolutionize humanity. Before they react, injections pierce their necks, sedating them for lab extraction. Back at Val d'Argent, Andy notices blood from an old stab wound. Her healing falters. She leaves Nile and Booker. Booker shares his pain, losing 3 sons, the last to cancer, confessing immortality's toll as families age and die, leaving them isolated. Andy heads to a supermarket, asking the clerk for a bathroom to stitch her wound. The clerk agrees, unaware of the warrior's burden. While Andy schemes to confront Merrick, he obsessively extracts Joe and Nikki's genetics in a sterile lab. Scientists draw blood, tissue, and DNA, racing to fulfill his vision. Joe warns the lead scientist she can't deliver Merrick's dream, but she counters, insisting it will transform the world. Elsewhere, Andy and Nile share a quiet moment, reflecting on family. Andy's guilt over losing Quinn, her broken promise, fuels her resolve to rescue Joe and Nikki at any cost. The trio, Andy, Nile, and Booker, heads to Surrey, England, but Nile balks, unwilling to fight. As the team plots escape, Booker gives Andy a pistol, but Nile refuses to join in the mission, reflecting she doesn't want to share in such massacre missions. Andy asks her to go if that's what she wants. Nile droves off, but later realizes that Booker gave Andy a gun with an empty magazine. This made her to key into the mission after realizing Andy has been set up. Andy and Booker made it to Copley apartment, but suddenly, Booker grabs Andy and tied her. It was an arrangement by Copley to hand her over to Merrick. Copley thinks this experiment will save humanity, while Booker thinks this experiment will break them from the curse of immortality, but suddenly, he noticed Andy aren't healing from the previous injury. He ordered Copley to fetch in some med-aids, but Merrick and his men burst in asking, "Why isn't she healing?" Booker said, "She's not immortal." Copley pleaded with Merrick to let Andy out of the test because she can't survive the it since she wasn't healing, but Merrick orders his men to take the 2 of them and knocked out Copley. Merrick's intentions were to keep them as his lab mice until they are out and never to let them into the hands of his competitors. Nile confronts Copley, seeking answers. He confesses Merrick orchestrated it all, obsessed with immortality. Copley reveals Andy's centuries of unseen heroics known only to him. Nile accuses him of betrayal, but he offers to help, seeking redemption. She hesitates, fearing his death, yet follows. They made it to the lab, but he urges Copley not to go in with her because he can't survive the dangers, but she will. She proceeds into the mission to save the team, but Merrick's men shoot her. She feigns death, then rises, gunning them down. The CCTV alerts Merrick. Nile reaches Andy, Joe, Nikki. Nile urges her to honor her promise to save the team, unshackling them. The five hunt Merrick to end the fight. They clash with Merrick's guards, felling several, but an ambush splits them. Andy presses on alone until they reunite, interrogating a guard for Merrick's location. Merrick stalks them, intent on annihilation, while the team splits to corner him. Nikki and Joe flank from behind as Andy falters. Nile stays by her side, receiving all the shots, knowing quite well that she won't heal from the wounds. They outsmart him. Andy wrests his weapon, slashing his throat, and Nile shoves him off the ledge to his death on the road below. Merrick's reign ends. Few days later, the team came to a decision on what will be the punishment for Booker for his betrayal. Andy made it known to him. He must remain here in the next 100 years. The team will reunite with him after that. They both say goodbye emotionally. The movie wraps up with a thrilling conclusion, leaving Andy and her immortal crew standing tall amidst the chaos they've endured. The reconciliation with Copley adds a layer of hope, hinting at new alliances ahead, while the unresolved tension of their fading immortality sets the stage for an epic sequel. What did you think of this movie? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Don't forget to like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell for the next adventure. See you in the next one.